Hey, welcome to Buffalo Plus and the Buffalo Plus YouTube page. Mike Catalana, Jenna Cottrell. Where the heck is Dan Fates?
He's got a good excuse, I'd say, right?
Yeah. Do you want to explain where Dan is right now?
Yes, Dan and his wife have just had their first baby, a baby girl, Shane Marie. So he's, like we said, got a pretty good excuse as he's now a dad and on dad duty for, well, let's be real, forever.
Forever. Oh, I know that. He's a girl dad, so we know that. So good for him. All right, let's talk about this. Look, we're all ready for this start of training camp, but are you worried about the NFL? Are you worried about these teams keeping themselves COVID-free as best they can?
I am worried, just considering seeing how the MLB has had an increase in positive cases. And similar to the MLB, the NFL is not going to be in a bubble. And because of that, and there's so many guys that are coming from all over the country, obviously there's going to be a progression, a ramp up period. There's going to be strict testing. You know, you have to have multiple negative tests to even enter a facility. But at the same point, the worry is these guys are all so close together. If someone were to pick something up, you know, it's just the possibility of things spreading like wildfire, and it completely, you know, changing how an NFL team can prepare, because who's going to be available? And that's, you know, that's the biggest question.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing. And you look at it, the way it's going to work in the NFL is after they get going here in training camp, well, even on those days, they go home, right? So they go home and then they come back. So the issue is going to be, you know, not maybe as much as into their own homes or their own hotel rooms, but what else do they do? And the league has even set up these provisions that say, if you go to high-risk things like crowded restaurants or nightclubs and you get it, you're not going to get paid. That should be a pretty good incentive.
Yeah, that to me does seem like a great incentive. The only thing that I think about, though, is those guys are early 20s, a lot of them mid-20s. And there's always going to be that allure of going and doing things and being out. You know, a lot of these guys have a lot of money as well. So I could understand. I think it's actually probably, you know, a benefit to be in Buffalo, because there's, I mean, it's not LA.
There's nothing fun in Buffalo?
No, don't put words in my mouth, but it's certainly not New York City or Miami.
Yes.
So when you look at some of the other, even in the division, Miami, New York, I mean, New England, not quite as much, but still there's a lot of distractions that can be out there. Now, money is a great incentive for the guys to stay focused, but it's also not just a month that they're going to be expected to do this. It's 4 months. And it's not like they're coming into the playoffs and have that ability to be focused and say, hey, guys, this is the postseason. It's a long time. And because of that, I can understand why some attentions might kind of, you know, go to other places.
You mentioned an advantage for Buffalo. They've got a good locker room. They've got leadership, a lot of similar players coming back. I personally believe peer pressure is going to be impactful in terms of setting up the narrative in that room that don't be stupid. You're going to ruin what we have here. How well do you think that would play? I don't mean, you know, forced down like from the coaches. I mean in the room where the players are like, be smart, get your rest, don't mess this up for everybody.
I think it's the accountability factor, and I think that's a strong factor in Buffalo. Maybe not in other locker rooms where they're not as close in terms of the bond. I mean, it obviously hurts having Lorenzo Alexander not there. Maybe,
right?
He retired. I say that in quotes, but I think it's going to be important for players to really go to one another. And that's why it's great that it's a huge group of guys coming back who understand what Sean McDermott is looking for, and also the bond that they have to kind of be like, hey, let's be smart about this. Because I think in other locker rooms, this could fracture a locker room if there's players that are not being accountable or kind of not taking things as seriously as others. I know I would be mad.
Yeah. Well, I guess I look at it like you've seen these things about if a relationship had an issue, COVID made it worse. If a business had issues, COVID made them worse. And on locker rooms or football teams, maybe it's not even that they had problems. They don't know each other that well. They don't have that inherent trust. This team has a lot of players and coaches coming back. They've been through this a little bit over the last few years.
Yeah, and I think it almost kind of like the Buffalo versus everyone
Yeah.
mentality. I think that has done so much for the team. And like this is another example. I feel like this entire offseason, we've talked about how much continuity helps on the field, but continuity helps in that locker room too. Because of knowing the guys, knowing the personalities, even knowing some of the players that like, hey, I gotta be extra on this guy to make sure that he's adhering to things. But I think because of that, I mean, it just sets up for this team to really be one of those organizations that can go in the right direction and continue to follow that. Because I think, especially with other teams, I think also results might impact this as well. You have a bad season, you start out, you lose the first 4 games of the season. How inclined are you going to be to stick to those guidelines?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have to wait and see, but I mean, I think that's also a huge part of it as well.
No, I think you're 100% right with that. And I think we're going to find out. It is going to be a mental toughness that gets thrown around a lot, but of sticking to everything. And then, just like playing in a game where you don't have the crowd to cheer you on to help you come back. Who are the players that can do this? I'm worried in general about the NFL, but all those things we talked about, I do find them to be benefits for the Bills because I think they have a good structure, but it's still a matter of going in there. By the way, in terms of us and covering it, we're still sort of waiting it out.
Yeah. I mean, I think like everything, it's like we've had all this time to plan, but then things change so frequently and they're trying to make sure they do it in the right way. So it's going to be a lot of Zoom, but like, hey, everyone, you're already used to it. Look at that. We already know. I was going to say.
And the players are focused, the players are focused on the other part now. So it may be a little while before you start hearing from them. We'll be keeping an eye. We'll be up there, whatever level we get to see it. But it's going to be, it will be a strange season no matter what. But I think there are some concerns about the NFL. Let's see how they play it out. So that's going to do it for us. Remember, you can subscribe to the channel here on Buffalo Plus on YouTube, and also check us out certainly on buffaloplus.com.
And we have a podcast for those that don't know. The
Buffalo Plus.
Originally, I was going to say, it's originally named Buffalo Plus as well. And anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can check it out.
Yeah.
It's Mike, Dan, myself pontificating. We're talking about the season, everything that you might have missed on Buffalo Plus or you might have missed on YouTube.
And you got different opportunities to listen. So that's something you can download, put the headphones in, listen to, and we'll be doing that on a weekly basis from now right on through to the season. So if Dan gets some feeding breaks there and he can join us.
I think it'll be less stressful on him, something tells me, than maybe someone else in the family.
I think it will be. All right, that's going to do it for the aforementioned Dan Fates and for Jenna Cottrell. I'm Mike Catalana. Thanks for watching here on Buffalo Plus.